Good morning. What's up, everybody? Jim here from Clockwerk Industries. It's Sunday morning, June 21st. I never know the date. It's one long day in here. Working on some cool stuff right now. I wanted to show you guys. We're running. I screwed up my 8-pin fixture, so see if I can get a better look really quick. The only thing I don't like about the GoPro is that there's no zoom. Well, there's a zoom, but it's not that great. I film in linear mode, so I'm not even using the wide angle. A wide angle would make it even harder for you to see anything. But basically now I have the whole fixture drilling and threading prototype set up, so all I got to do is copy paste it over to every new fixture. And I ran an end mill. I was running an 8-pin, and I ran the 24-pin cut out, so I had it bolted like it was an 8-pin screws. I mean, this thing went right through the mounting screws, so it was cutting out 24 pins. I don't think I have any of the scrap ones sitting around anymore, but they looked ridiculous. Yeah, I don't see one. I think oh wait, hold on. Here we go. So yeah, not ideal. Focus on there. And a couple of them, it went right through the mounting screws. Didn't even chip the end mill, so that was good. But I didn't notice it until it had done like 10 of them. So right now I'm running a new fixture for the 8-pin. And when I first did these, I didn't have thread mills. I didn't really know how to do that stuff yet. I mean, I knew how to do it like in like a one-off and stuff, but it takes a little time to set them up, like for each different thread, getting the right thread pitch and everything like that. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. I was just doing it, but like the thread pitch diameter or whatever, that, you know, the spacing between threads and everything like that. But once you have it set up and in in the Fusion and with the Tormach, and I'm sure any other router or whatever, but once you have it set up, all I gotta do is copy paste it to the other one. Once I have a 540 set up, a 632, an M4, an M5, now I have a defined thing with the right end mill or thread mill set up. I just copy paste it. So when I do a new fixture, I just copy paste the code to the new fixture and boom, good to go. So now I'm running a new 8-pin fixture. I'm also gonna make a second 24-pin and a second 16-pin because those are the two highest selling combs. And I only get 32 24 pins and 40 16 pins per fixture. So if I can add a second fixture and throw it into the rotation, I can actually get it'll make it more efficient when I need to get like a couple hundred of just those sizes done. And I can rotate back and forth between the fixtures. And like if I need to do 24, I could just do them back to back to back. While one's running, I set up the next one and vice versa. But this video, I'm already at 3 minutes, damn. All right, well, I'll take the next 10 minutes. In this video, I wanted to kind of go over the anodizing process. I'm gonna try to be as detailed as I can while I'm doing it. I know it all off the top of my head now, and I can at least, if you wanna know and you have the basics and like, kind of like, I could save you a little bit of the trouble of some things that I had to figure out along the way. So that is what we're gonna do today. And I'm gonna try to get this vlog up and edited by Tuesday. So I think I got a pretty solid setup here. I don't have it opened right now. Well, I'll do that. I'll show you in the next clip. I got Premiere set up where I have the intro, the end screen. I have 5 songs that I looped in Adobe Audition, and basically all I have to do now is take these clips, drop them in. I'll probably just drop them into one timeline, make a nested sequence, throw it over to the other one, and like throw it into my template, and I'm good to go. So I should be able to make this something I can do a lot more regularly. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple things prepped for the anodizing I'm gonna be running today, and I'll meet you guys back over by the anodizing booth. Okay, so here's my whole anodizing setup. For right now, it's basically, my whole thing was about, fail fast, fail cheap. I wanted to make sure that I was able to do this, and it took me a while. I actually gave up on it for a while. I was gonna have a family friend who has a plating company do all the stuff. I still might do that down the road, but I have so many products so many options that it would just be, you know, I would really have to be at a high level of production to make it worthwhile to send them out to be done somewhere else. So my whole thing was get the cheapest possible setup, make sure it works, and if I could do it on that, start investing into it. So that's what I did. Basically right here you have your anodizing bath. This is done with battery acid. You can get this at AutoZone or any auto parts store, O'Reilly, Advanced Auto Parts, or AutoZone. You mix it up with the 10% mixture, so you put 10% battery acid, 90%. I use distilled water, and I recently, things are gonna get tricky here with this cord. This is a RO water filter. I got it off of Amazon for $50, I think. If you go to the NYC CNC website and type in NYC CNC RO water filter into Google, and it'll go to their website where they have the link to Amazon for this. They also have the link to the replacement cartridges. It's $40, and then now I keep 10 empty jugs, and I can just fill it up, you know, once a week or in the morning every couple days, and then I'm good to go. It requires a lot of refilling. You know, the water is cooking out of this, and refilling the mill with the same stuff. So 10% battery, or I'm sorry, not 10%. 10 to 15% is what you want for regular. This is type 2 anodizing. It's basically just preventing corrosion. It's not going to give you like a super hard protective layer. You can scratch through it. So type 3 anodizing requires a temperature control on the acid bath and like a higher concentration of acid. I think it's like 30 or 40%, something like that. So that's what's here in the acid bath. I run a Duralast 6 amp battery charger. I got it from AutoZone for $50. I run it at the 2 amp setting. The way this works is I built these racks. I machined the pins on the Tormach. I used to do it on the router. I got some titanium to try that because titanium will not erode away, and I don't even know if you actually have to strip it because it won't get anodized this way. Titanium's anodized using heat or different chemical operation. With this, I think if I do the pins out of titanium, it'll be expensive to build them, but they'll last. These ones, every time I go into this lye bath here, which I guess I'm gonna start it up right now. This is a lye bath mixture. You want to do this before you put the parts into the acid bath, because this gets all the any leftover oils and grease off of it. If you don't do this, you can end up with like spotted parts or blotchy. This is super critical, and you don't want to leave it in here too long because it will etch the surface of the parts, and then in my case then they're scrap. And then you rinse off after every step. And then it goes into here. I set up this custom system here where I have the lead from the power supply clamped to this bar. You can do this however you want. You just have to make sure that the anode is on your part and the cathode is the ground, the negative is on a piece of aluminum that's in your tank. So once I set all this up here, I got this industrial cooking timer on Amazon for $40. It's an 8-channel, it's awesome. I hit that one for 90 minutes, and basically I run it at the 2 amps at 90 minutes, and 2 amps, 12 volts at 90 minutes. And basically what ends up happening though, you need to keep this in mind. Even once I get a rectifier, and you can kind of set up the exact amount of surface area for however many amps you need, the more of the anode that you put in here, so the more parts you put in here, the more current that's going to travel from the parts to the cathode, to the ground. So that can make it hotter, it can speed up the process. And I noticed this because I went through every single piece of this entire system trying to find the problem, why my parts were getting fried. I would run 1 rack just to test, and it would go perfectly. Then I would put in 4 racks, and they would all get fried. So I was wondering, I could not figure out what the hell was going on. Originally I was running it at 6 amps because I thought I needed the power, but if you run it up and put more parts in there at the 6 amps, it draws 5 amps, and that's way too much for these little parts, and it was cooking the parts, and it was basically like putting a matte finish, and the color would look like crap, and I kept ruining 50 parts at a time because I'd go, oh, 1 rack works great, and then I'd drop 5 of them, and it would destroy all the parts. So I'm going to save you the trouble there. Run it on the lower amp setting, so like when it maxes out, even when it gets all the way up to 2 amps, it's like the perfect amount for the parts. 90 minutes is still the perfect time frame. So I'm gonna keep running this. This right here, this bath, oh crap. This bath here is, okay. This is regular household lye, drain cleaner. I got this at True Value Hardware Store. Mix it up with your distilled water. That could even be mixed with tap water. Make sure everything's rinsed really good between each step. So yeah, that's basically the first process. Also, I have this back here. Well, I guess I could show you that later. That's for cleaning off my racks, but that's some de-smut. This is some Caswell plating. Everything I have now is running from all completely from Caswell. I found that there's the parts are, or all the anodizing supplies are super reliable. They're super consistent once you get your process dialed in. That's like the most difficult part for me right now, is making sure that I have like a pretty close amount of parts in here, so they're anodized as close as possible, and then they're all in for the same time in the bath, and then they all go in the dye for the same amount of time. Each dye is going to be finicky. Like gold, if you leave gold in for 10 minutes, you're going to have like brown parts by the time it's done. It's more of a chemical reaction change. This violet is also a chemical reaction type change, but it also seems like it tops off at a certain point. Like once it gets to like this deep purple, it doesn't go any darker. So like each dye is going to be finicky, and you're going to have to get used to doing each one individually, and then kind of take notes or mental notes and remember what you have to do for each one. I'll go over it. I'm going to stop here in a second, and then I'm going to come back when these are done and I go into each bath. But like the dye is mixed basically according to whatever it says on the side here. One of these 4-ounce things makes 2 gallons. So what I do is take half of one and pour it in to a whole gallon jug, and then I have a half of one for another one later. They last a gallon will last you a long time. So you really only need a 4-ounce if you're just doing like small batches and stuff like that. I'm gonna get the rest of these dumped in there while I'm talking. And then this right here is the sealer bath. I'll talk about this again in a little bit. I cut the labels off the Caswell bags that they sent in and poured them in a bin and put that on there, so I know what I'm talking, what I'm dealing with. The sealer goes in here. The dye runs at 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and then the sealer, I put it up to like 200. It really says 180, but I like to just go up to 200 just to make sure that the parts are sealed good and I have no issues. And I haven't had any issues with the sealing part of this system. These hot plates are on Amazon. They're like 20 bucks a piece. The next phase for that is I'm going to be getting 3-gallon square buckets for all the dyes, and getting a submersible a submersible heater. They make them for camping, for like heating up your cup of coffee. You just dunk it in there. It's stainless steel heating element with like ceramic inside probably or something like that. And what you do is it creates a seal. It's got O-rings and washers, and you put it in at the bottom of the bucket. And basically what it does is give each dye its own heater, and now you have a bigger tank to dunk your parts in. So what I'll probably do at that point is I'm also planning on getting a TIG welder, and I'll break it down from here. And then what I can do with the TIG welder is weld custom titanium or aluminum racks that would almost just fit as many parts as possible. But if you weld it, you can do unique shapes, and you don't have to worry about dunking your screws from the rack into the liquid. So you can I can make like a spiral where it'll hold like 30 parts in a circle, and then another row with another 30 parts, and then I would just dunk it into the thing. I'll also be building a new anodizing tank to shape in that same shape. So everything's in the same orientation, so there's no awkward size shapes or something where I got to do something different. So yeah, and then the sealer bath will have its own same thing. The other great part about that is when I'm done, you put a lid on it and store it, and it's airtight. So less chance of algae or anything or growing in the liquids or anything like that, and keep it protected from bugs. Like, you know, I've seen bugs land in the lye bath and like they just are like a ghost shape of a bug in there after the when I come back in the morning. So, all right, well, I'm gonna come back to you guys when the dye or when the beeper is going off for the anodizing being done. All right. Really quick, I was walking back from the anodizing and I saw that this is done. Dang, you can barely even see it. All the holes are all done. Now that's awesome. Now it's ready to go. Now it's a complete fixture. All I gotta do is throw it into rotation like all the rest of them. Oh, I'm gonna do an engraving on there just so I know what it is. But yeah, all right, I'll be back when the anodizing's done. Okay, so I hope that you can see this. I can't connect my phone right now, it's not working. I don't normally need it, but like when I have an angle like this, it helps. So the dye is heated up to 140, timer just went off at 90 minutes. And basically, you want to rinse the parts, but you don't want to use scalding hot water, just warm water for this rinse, because you don't want it to accidentally like seal. It depends how hot your faucet can get. And then I just drop it up in here, and I'll drop all 4 racks this time because they should be able to fit. And it kind of just depends how many I have that I do in here at each time. I try to get them all, so if I could do them all, it keeps it as close to the color shade as possible. These are all small parts, so they'll fit. And I've been trying to like do somewhat of the same size parts with like, if I'm doing small parts, I try to do like 1 or 2 racks of larger ones just to make sure it gets a good good current going through there. And then this I'll run at 5 minutes. And then after the 5-minute timer goes off, take it out of here, put it in a sealer bath for 10 minutes, and then they'll be done. All right, you can hear the timer going off. This thing is super helpful. I recommend it for only 40 bucks, it's worth it. Just because like also if I want to say start up like 2 racks of purple, I'll wait 30, I'll hit it for 90 and then I'll wait like 30 minutes and then I'll start up like 2 racks of gold and I'll hit the next timer for 90. So then that way it gives me about 30 minutes once I drop the dye. I could take this dye bath, pour it back in the bucket, pour in the gold and switch it up. In the future, it'll be even better because I'll just have the bucket. So if I want to do gold, I'll just hit 90. And then I want to drop I drop in some racks, I do it, and I just hit the other one. I don't have to switch the dyes or anything like that, but I can run multiple racks for different times and different colors. And technically, I could actually dump them all at the same time. So there's all kinds of cool things you could do once you have a more intricate setup. But this is a great way to get started. I mean, I've done thousands of combs this way and it's worked out great. So in between every single step, you always want to rinse, even the dye bath. I think I'm gonna let this go a tiny bit longer just to be sure. Yeah, I think it's all right actually. Oh yeah, it looks good. Hopefully you can see that. And then this is already heated up. This is at 200, and that's about right where I like it. All right, hit the timer for 10 and it'll be done. All right, buzzer is going off for the final thing. And I'll basically take these out and rinse them off in cold. and these are done. I'll meet you guys back over in the other area there. All right, so now we're back over here. Here's the finished parts. There's the other ones I'm working on. And I'm gonna keep repeating the cycle. One last thing I did want to show you guys. When the racks are done, this is why I keep having to make new ones. You dunk them in the lye. That's the murky color one. All right. And now I've been using this. I hit the 2 minutes. Kind of one of the things that burns my racks up real quick is I'll forget that they're in there, and if you, it'll be like 7 hours will go by and I forgot that it's in there, and it'll take brand new rack. I've completely eviscerated brand new racks. It just sits there and eats all the aluminum off, and I come back, I pick the racks out, and the pins are gone. So I've been using the timer, and that's been helping me prolong the life of the racks. But that is basically the process, and I guess maybe I could have went into a little more detail, but I think I covered pretty much everything. So if you kind of follow along with this video, you should be able to have anodized parts by the time that you're done. It takes a lot of trial and error, making sure the parts are clean, making sure you follow those time limits to a T. And it's just one of those things that get better over time. I mean, the first parts I cut on a CNC were junk, and it took me years to figure it out. This, I mean, really it did take me about a year or two to really dial in the anodizing, but you know, the more you practice, the better you'll get at it. But at least now you have like kind of like a baseline. I've been wanting to do this video for a while now, and well, there it is. So this video is already way longer than I want it to be, but that's gonna wrap up this one. Even though there was a bunch of clips in this one, it's gonna be just as easy to edit. I didn't even have a chance to pull Premiere Pro. I'll show you guys that in the next one maybe. But all I have to do is dump these clips in, turn it into a sequence, throw it in the into my template, and it's done. So this video actually will be longer than it took me to edit it, which is awesome. So yeah, if you guys like this, I think I can keep going with them. I've already got a lot of good feedback so far. If you have any questions about anodizing, put it down in the comments, and I'll try to get back to everybody. Luckily, while the channel's small, I'm able to get back to everybody's comments and try to, you know, answer as many questions as I can. So I really appreciate the support. There's the things going off now. But yeah, that'll wrap up this one, guys. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I will see you later this week. Oh, please like, subscribe, share. Yeah, you know. All right, later, guys.